Hello, I'm Julie Kernan, President and CEO of Business Volunteers Maryland. Welcome to Doing Good Better. It's a series where we spotlight people who are doing good in our communities. And today it's my pleasure to welcome Ojeda Hall. Ojeda is the Executive Director of the Maryland, DC, and Virginia One Love Foundation. Ojeda, so nice to see you.
Julie, it's so wonderful to be with you again. And as we said, can't wait till COVID is over so we can
hug
each other a hug. Yeah.
Yeah, just for our listeners, Ojeda and I had our first meeting. We met at a coffee shop and it was like instant. One of those times in your life where you meet someone and you think, wow, this was someone I really could connect with. And I can see us being friends in the future. And this great meeting and poof, COVID hit and we all went into our little bubbles and it's promising to see light at the end of that tunnel.
Right. Well, thank
you.
I'm excited.
Thank you for joining us. It's really great to have conversations and learn about what different organizations are doing in our community. And I like to start each conversation with the same question. Ojeda, how are you doing good better?
Oh my gosh, thank you for that question. This has been, like for so many, an incredible time of self-learning, of learning about our community, of really, I think, reckoning with ourselves and with our community. I will say personally, being able to reckon with my own beliefs, my spirituality even, with what it takes to do this difficult job of bringing resources around domestic violence and really violence prevention and relationship abuse prevention to young people. We've really had to reckon with what does it take to do that. And so I'm doing good better by maintaining relationships, by growing my spiritual practices, by focusing on belonging, diversity, equity, and inclusion. We've been leading our organization in an exercise to really adopt a set of core values that are not after 10 years. We don't have an explicit set of core values, but we've been operating in the implicit space, and we're really clarifying what they are. And we're investing in leaders from the community. So many leaders during this time were saying, what can we do? We're bored, we're home. And One Love just really went all in on our volunteer support and volunteer leadership development. And so being able to invest in leaders, maintain and build relationships, focus on what it means to have anti-racist principles and be inclusive across the board in content, and to get our content, make our content, Julie, accessible to everyone. One Love was always intended to be for all. COVID has allowed us to actually make it for all, to produce.
Interesting. So you found that in COVID, maybe there are fewer barriers to getting information to more people. That's terrific.
It's been great. We've focused on the disability community and making our content accessible. We have focused on communities of color and making sure that our videos reflect the communities that we're most committed to. We have all kinds of film projects going with people that look like me, which is exciting. And so it's been a real growth season for One Love. And I'm getting a chance to co-lead or lead some of our BDEI, Belonging, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion work at One Love, to make sure that we really do become an organization that's for all.
That's terrific. We are seeing that with more and more of our partners, our business partners and our nonprofit partners, that they are investing and really taking the time to have thoughtful plans and actually seeing those come to life. That's terrific. Good for you. I'll look forward to hearing more about that. I think there are probably ways you can help business volunteers too. So don't be surprised.
I would love to. I'm so passionate about it. It is the history of systemic racism, of historical racial trauma in the country, in this city.
Is profound.
I mean, Baltimore being the lead city for restrictive racial housing covenants and what that has done to destroy communities of color. We don't talk about those things.
No, we don't. We don't.
All that's just swept under a rug, and we just look at what we have now, and we don't think, what's the root cause of what we're seeing in the city, whether it's violence or underachievement. We're sort of focusing on the manifestation of the problem,
but not the cause.
About the root cause, and we have not enough creativity or I'm hoping we acquire more leadership that can handle really complex, complicated problems that are rooted in historical racial trauma and bias. So it's complicated.
It is complicated. And you participated as a project sponsor in our Give Fellowship class for 2020, but the foundation for our Give Fellowship is around learning and understanding more about the root cause. And we had our first session a couple of weeks ago where we educate these leaders about how we got here. And so much across the board, people saying, I had no idea. Yes. So it's so important for us to educate people so they understand that we got here almost intentionally. So we need to fix it.
Yeah, I have one of the things that COVID has let me do is to read some of the books behind me, and there's so much
great backdrop.
There's so much to read, Julie, around the history of this country, the founding of this country. We're told and taught one narrative of how the country was founded and started, but we're really not taught narratives that relate to the slave trade and what our economy essentially was built on, which is slave labor has built this country to the great level that it is right now in terms of income. And so those of us who enjoy privileges in many ways, that's off of the backs of hard slave labor,
Absolutely.
Laborers picking cotton in the South and being able to build Wall Street based on insurance policies and other things that relate to property and slave property being number one. So, what do we do about that now?
Right. Well, we have organizations like the One Love Foundation and others who are trying to help lift people up.
That's right.
But it is important for people to understand how we got here to begin with.
Thank you for being so open to that conversation.
Well, I'm learning myself. So this is part of all of our journey, I think, where we're trying to understand how we got here, and then we can try to work together to make a difference.
Exactly.
So I did go out onto your website, and I want to read a statement because I love this from the One Love Foundation website.
Yeah.
Love is the most important thing in our lives, yet we are taught very little about it. One Love is on a mission to change that. We educate young people about healthy and unhealthy relationships, empowering them to identify and avoid abuse and learn how to love better. Gosh, I love that. That's so powerful. How do you do that?
Oh, wow. Well, it's a combination of education and mobilization. And prior to COVID, we spent a lot of time building relationships with community partners, community organizations, domestic violence organizations, schools, and we've continued to strengthen those relationships during COVID, working with Baltimore City Schools, Baltimore County Schools, Frederick County Schools, Anne Arundel Schools, Montgomery County Schools. It has been wonderful to really see teachers doing their best to figure out, how do I help young people with the mental health issues that have occurred during COVID, with the rise in domestic violence, with young people being sheltered in place at home, with abusers, where getting out during school time periods was when we could go to school. That was some young people's escape from
like a safe haven, right?
Home. That was the safe haven, right? And so we do that. The simple answer is that we do our work through a combination of education and mobilization, that until the community owns this issue and brings One Love and the 10 signs of unhealthy and healthy relationships into their own communities, neighborhoods, block associations, congregations, schools, families, this work can't get done. So we're just heavily reliant on leaders. And during COVID, we have launched our education center. It has over 140 different resources, which includes film, workshops, lesson plans. We've mapped our content to the Maryland State Health Education Standards, which I'm really excited about.
That's great.
And so now any health teacher can go on to our site and be able to pick up lesson plans that are aligned to what they have to teach. Yeah, so
it's all on your site.
It's all on our site.
Oh my gosh.
Join onelove.org education center. Go to our education center and you will find so many resources to start the conversation with a loved one, with a young person you care about, someone you're mentoring, even with your work environments. We've had about 3 sessions, Julie, where I've been teaching corporations what healthy workplace relationships look like.
Wow.
Experiment for us that's been working out pretty well.
That's great. Well, I'm sure so many of the same unhealthy issues, you see them arise in a work relationship, just like you would in an intimate partner relationship.
And it's been so important, and I didn't say this before, but it's so important to have a common shared language. So how do we do? We introduce a shared language. And once you have the language to know this is what's happening in my relationship, now you can set relationship goals. Now you can decide whether you should have a breakup plan, whether this is the relationship of your dreams. You can teach these standards to your children and the people you care about. But before, we were living in a time, I know when I came up, I did not have language for the unhealthy relationships that I was in. And I realized in my own world, because of different traumas that I had faced coming up and how I had processed them, that I was taking those immature behaviors, thoughts, and mindsets into my own relationships. And my first relationship was abusive, but I didn't realize it until I had the 10 signs from One Love to understand belittling, guilting, deflecting responsibilities, sabotage, isolation, manipulation. You have to have a language so that you can identify what's in front of you. And so that's been, that's the core of what we do. We educate around those 10 signs. And then and I think we'll talk about objectives, but then we want people to understand and use the signs to start building healthy skills, helping friends, navigating breakups, practicing consent and boundaries, accessing resources for when things escalate.
So if I knew someone who I thought maybe could benefit, I don't need to be a health teacher or have curriculum. As an individual, I could go there and say, here are some things I think you should be reading.
Yes, Julie, the big contribution I think One Love makes to the space is we believe anyone can start a conversation if you have the language and if you talk to people in a language that they can hear. And young people often can hear through social media, they can hear through movies and video. And so as you can see, when you get to our site and One Love, we have videos that are 1 minute and 38 seconds. In Baltimore, a PSA ad runs called That's Not Love, right? Yeah. And just in 1 minute and 38 seconds, we talk about manipulation and control. And if you see these behaviors in your relationship, it's not love. And sometimes people use love as a cover for manipulation. Right. I love you. Therefore, I want to see your texts. I want to check your location. I want you to call me every 5 minutes. That's not love, and during COVID, it's even worse. People will withhold things and sabotage relationships during COVID it could be, I'm not going to give you access to insurance cards. I'm going to not tell you if I've been diagnosed with COVID. There's so much manipulation.
Oh my goodness. So much. So much. So
step 1, we need everyone to get the signs. And then step 2, we need everyone to become a champion and an ambassador of this work with us.
Awesome. That's great. So what does success look like?
Yeah. For me, it would be reaching every middle schooler and high schooler in the state of Maryland and DC and Virginia as well.
Great.
With the 10 signs and having them understand it in such a way that they're able to help friends practice consent and setting their own boundaries, access resources should they need it, that they would be able to make breakup plans if they need it. I always joke, I used to be a youth minister, and we would have conversations and kids would inevitably say, oh, I broke up with such and such. And I'd be so happy that they broke up because, they were so young, and I'm thinking, gosh, sometimes breakups are what's needed.
Right, absolutely.
But sometimes breakups are what's needed, but it's not safe. And none of us can judge whether a person is safe as they prepare to break up, but there are specific steps people can take to make sure that their breakup is safer than others. And so we want people to have those resources. And then we don't want to always talk about the negative and unhealthy signs. Some of us are enjoying wonderfully healthy relationships.
Right.
There is trust, and there is kindness, and there is fun, and there is taking responsibility. And we need to celebrate and set more goals around those as well.
And show videos of that, maybe,
And
for
show
role
videos
model purposes. Well, this is quite a legacy for Yeardley Love and her family. And I love the approach that you're taking to try and reach people early. It's understanding that as a young adult is really important. And it's really commendable how you are reaching out to people and trying to get them early. And I understand.
And Julie, I want to celebrate the community that we belong to, House of Ruth, the MBC, all the SAFE program, Turnaround. There are so many great support services. Our work is trying to get ahead of the problem with young hearts and minds, but sometimes you can't. And we all are part of an ecosystem of support for people who find themselves in an abusive, unhealthy relationship. And I'm grateful to be in that community.
Yeah, I've seen how you are working so collaboratively with other organizations and how you do each have your role in that. So yours is absolutely prevention. Let's not even get to a point where we need this kind of support network. Yet we all know, sadly, that we do need to have access to shelters and legal help and job training, all of those other things for victims of intimate partner violence. But I just love how you are building such a legacy and honor of Yeardley. And I think right now we're catching you at the end of a big fundraiser. Tell us about Yards for Yeardley and how maybe we can help.
I am so excited to tell you about Yards for Yeardley. So we are a week away from the end of a month-long campaign where we've invited people to move for love or to play for Yeardley.
Love it.
So get moving, whether you bike or walk or swim, or I played tennis this morning, whatever it is, dedicate those steps to someone you love and who you want to see have a healthy relationship. I myself dedicate my movement to my cousin Corey, who survived an abusive relationship, and all of us know people who had unhealthy relationships. So we're spending this last week getting our last bit of steps in. And if you are interested in this campaign, and if you want to move for love, we invite you to go to www.yardsforyardley.org, and you will find all kinds of ways to sign up. It's not too late. And there'll be a big celebration on there'll be a celebration of your movement on May 3rd, which is a somber occasion for us, because of course it's the anniversary of the death of Yeardley Love. But as you said, we've really been laser focused on getting the message out that all of us can learn to love better, and all of us can be in a healthy relationship if we just understand the signs. So that's our Yards for Yeardley campaign. And we're also
great
off of that a golf tournament, Julie. So for all,
when is that?
That's October 11th.
All right.
Recruiting sponsors to tee up for love now. And so you can email me at ojeda.hall@joinonelove.org, ojeda.hall, HALL @joinonelove.org. and we can set you up, get you a foursome. We'll be at Green Spring Valley Club, and we're
awesome
to get corporations involved in healthy relationships in the workplace and in their own families and communities.
Well, I might be able to put a foursome together. I love it. That's fantastic.
Great.
Well, I can't let you go without letting us change gears a little bit, and let's have a little fun and get to know Ojeda just a little bit better. So we call this our speed round.
Okay.
All righty. What's your favorite day of the week?
Sunday. I am a faith-filled person, and I get to spend time in my faith tradition.
That's terrific. Favorite U.S. city besides Baltimore?
Great question. New York City. I was born in Baltimore, raised in New York, and it's just a beautiful city with a lot going on.
That's the city that doesn't sleep, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. And at what job, Ojeda, would you be terrible?
What job would I be terrible at? Oh gosh. Sadly, because of allergies to dogs, cats, and horses, I'd probably be a terrible vet, but
you can look at cute pictures on Instagram. Ojeda, finally, what is always in your refrigerator?
You got me, butter. And it's not just, I love butter. Butter on bread, butter on rice. Yeah, and I think it's the reason I've got to get out and move for Yeardley is so I can have more butter.
Oh, well, that is a good reason to get out and move. It's a really good reason. Ojeda, I love spending time with you today. Thank you so much for all you're doing in our community to help our young people find healthy relationships. And thank you for how you've supported business volunteers in the past. We're grateful for that. We're grateful for how you are doing good better.
Oh, Julie, thank you so much. And thank you for giving us our first access to give fellows this past year. It was incredible. It was a diverse group of people who really cared about our work. And so we appreciate all that you do and look forward to doing more with you in the future.
Good. Thank you.